Hey, welcome back to another episode on our new series, Pro Tips to Live a Dynamic Lifestyle. If you're new to this show, you definitely want to stay for this because we're dropping them every single day and we're giving you guys tips from literally experts and legit pro tips on how to live a dynamic lifestyle, especially in this pandemic and new circumstances and landscape that we're facing. So if you're interested, make sure to subscribe below. Other than that, get ready for this next one.
Guys, welcome back to another pro tip series on how to live a dynamic lifestyle through this pandemic. We have the amazing Eric Helms with us. How you doing today?
Even better now that I'm talking to you guys.
Right? I mean, we were just talking it up a little bit before we hit the record button and just, kind of just like saying how the name Eric is the best name in the world.
It's not a bad name. I mean, we're in good company.
Yeah.
You got Eric Trexler, you got me, you got you got Eric the Red.
Yeah.
A little violent, but still a pretty successful guy.
Definitely good company, but appreciate having you on, man, and your time. So let's get right into it. So I just want to know, how are you doing just, with this whole pandemic? I know you told us a little bit about it, you being over there in New Zealand, which is different from the States. And then what are some tips for the listeners that you would give that they're struggling through this? They need to just find some sort of way to kind of reinvent themselves.
Yeah. I think, for one, very fortunate here in New Zealand. We're probably coming out of the major lockdown within a week, and we're on a path to complete eradication. We've had very few deaths, so I'm just very fortunate to be here, and that my mom, who is turning 70 this year, is here as well. So I do feel for everyone who's not in as good of a situation. I like the way you framed that question. You specifically said reinvent, which I think is a really apt description, because when we're in a situation like this, and I think this extends to recession, divorce, injury, losing your job, or whatever, this is a shared experience among everyone, but people experience crises in life that are not unlike this, as far at least how it affects us emotionally. And I think that the re part is critical, because a lot of how you deal with these things is reframing. What's in our power to do? I can't snap my fingers or even do anything, not to snap my fingers like it's magic, to make COVID go away. I can't complete a virology degree and build a laboratory before someone else has already dealt with that, who got that degree previously and is in the laboratory. I'm not a superhero. As much as people compare me to Captain America, I don't even live in America, so I'm not actually Chris Evans. So yeah, I think all we can do is reframe. And I think one of the really important reframing things that has helped me personally is realizing that we're always dealing with constraints, right? And there's some really good quotes about constraints. Leonardo da Vinci said that freedom is the enemy of art. Constraints are its friend, essentially. I'm paraphrasing. It allows you to know what you can and can't do, so you can be creative within those constraints. And our constraints previously, like we're talking about health and fitness, where, I got hammer strength machines, I got dumbbells, I got barbells, I got this. And now it may be, I've got a tree outside that I can do pull-ups on. I've got a table that won't flip when I do rows on it. And I've got this old pair of dumbbells that I can at least fail in the 30 rep range I'm doing lateral raises on, So I think realizing that we are always making decisions with some level of limitations imposed on us helps us understand that the limitations have changed, but our decisions haven't. And it's all about how do we react to the situation. So as an example, I don't have a full gym. I am very fortunate in that I was able to borrow a barbell and weights before this thing came down, but only about 200 pounds. And I'm not the strongest guy in the world, but I am a strength athlete. So 200 pounds is less than my big three. 200 pounds is not less than my snatch, though. It's not less than my overhead press. And certain movements I've been able to focus on. So as a strength athlete now, I'm going, okay, this is a snatch specialization cycle. This is a bodybuilding cycle. And this is an overhead press cycle. Like, those are the things I can do, I can emphasize. And we do specialization cycles and training on purpose sometimes. I didn't get to choose this one, but why not make the best of it? So that's just one example of how I've reframed it for my situation.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And then I was going to ask, what's the biggest blessing, you've maybe occurred like through this quarantine that you were just kind of like surprised by?
Yeah, that's a great one. So, funny story. I went to Costa Rica for a small fitness retreat educational series where the presenters and the attendees present on something, read about it, learn about it. So it really challenges the presenters. It was an awesome experience. It's led by Dr. Ben House, and one of the things that's a really cool aspect of it is his dad is a practicing practices in meditation. And so one of the things we did as a part of the that fitness retreat is we would eat together, lunch and dinner and breakfast, and we would train together, we'd present together, and then we'd also have a guided meditation for anyone who wanted to be a part of it. And I used to be involved in martial arts when I was young, and meditation is something I did when I was younger, really benefited from it, something I would do on and off, but could never just quite get into the regularity of it. So I had a week right before the pandemic really got out of control, totally divorced from my normal life. I'm in Costa Rica, great serene environment, and I've got someone who's actually created the structure, the schedule, and just lowered the barrier of entry to the point where I was like, yeah, absolutely, every night I will do this 15-minute meditation. And it just reminded me how much I appreciated it. And then when I came, and then basically all the lockdown stuff started hitting while I was there. So I moved my flight up a day earlier, flew home, and then before New Zealand was on a full lockdown, I had to do self-quarantine just for anyone who traveled. That was a rule that popped up while I was away. To be honest, I probably wouldn't have left if I'd known that rule was in place, because it happened once I'd already got to Costa Rica. So I've had basically 7 weeks of complete isolation on my own because of the bridge between the country being isolated and me having to self-isolate. So I've been able to keep up at least 1 or 2 times a week meditating, and I've had a streak that I haven't had previously. So that's something that has been a nice silver lining. It's created this space and the environment for me to develop that new habit, which is echoed into the rest of my life in a positive way.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And then like, would you say too, like, have you had those days where you're just like, your emotions got the best of you, where you're just like, fuck, like I miss these little things because of the quarantine? And would you say maybe meditation's one of those things that kind of alleviates that really quick?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like, if you, like in video games, like you kind of have 2 options. If it's like a character building thing, like a role playing game where you build up your guy or gal and they get
Yeah.
stronger, better over time, right? You always have the option of taking a new skill, which can totally change the dynamic. Like, oh, now I can do X, Y, and Z. Meditation isn't a new skill, but what it is it's the other option of like building up your stats or abilities. It's like a passive benefit, for all the role playing game nerds out there who do gaming stuff. Like if you just simply do it, I notice I'm more kind to my partner. I have a little bit better stress management. If I get an email that pisses me off, or a social media comment that triggers me, or whatever, I'm more likely to deal with it in the way that a mature, calm, stress managed version of Eric Helms would, and won't look back and go like, man, I have to apologize to that person. Or, man, I was being a dick there, or whatever. So I find it just gives me a little bit extra bandwidth. And I think one thing we can all relate to is that COVID has definitely sapped some bandwidth.
Yeah.
Even as someone, like, I have an online business, I haven't been negatively financially affected by this. I've been very fortunate in that way. It would have definitely hurt me a lot back in, say, 2014, when I was primarily coaching and not creating information and scalable content online. So I don't have a whole lot of stresses. So maybe I'm privileged in saying this, but the stresses I have had of, not being able to live the life I normally live, it's definitely helped. It's just given me a little bit extra RAM to deal with kind of the more programs running on my computer, if you will.
Yeah, 100%, man. You actually just brought me into my next question too, where you said that it didn't really affect you, but let's just say hypothetically, man, that like COVID did wipe you out, and knowing what you know now, all the skills that you've built up, and you've pretty much like recession proofed your business, with the subscription model that you guys have through Mass, which is really awesome. But like, what would you do, like, step wise and skill wise, if it was to be wiped out completely and you had to start from scratch? Are you a fitness professional looking to create more income, impact, influence, and independence? If so, we actually just dropped our new book, Rise of the Fit Pros, so you guys can be on your way to doing all those things, and you can sit there and build your hybrid training model. So if you're interested in getting your copy, make sure to click the book or the link right here, and you guys can grab it. Other than that, make sure to enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah, that's something we built 3D Muscle Journey in 2009, 2010. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't say we're at the rock bottom of the recession. It was like maybe 08, but we built it during the recession. And we've always had a lot of confidence that, if you coach bodybuilders, powerlifters, and athletes, and people are just really, really serious about their fitness, that niche may be smaller. It may be less people. You may have to upskill to a greater degree, instead of being, it's not that it's any easier or harder, but it's more specific. Like if you're a general population coach, you got to know a little bit about everything. If you're a bodybuilding coach, that time spent being broad, you have to be deep. You have to know a whole lot about all this stuff that is specific to the sport. You need to know, what does your lot number do in a powerlifting competition? You can be very good at programming for strength and not know that, and that can have a market effect on are you an effective powerlifting coach? Just as a random example. So the benefit of having a niche like that is that they don't see personal training as something like, oh, I should do it, or this is going to help me get into shape or like make my whole life better. They're going to do everything they can to be the best they can at what they want to do, because it's really, really important to them. So we found that we were never short on clients for coaching bodybuilders and powerlifters, even though we built it during the recession. And that gave us a lot of confidence. COVID's different. Something like 3/4 of our clients who are competitive bodybuilders or powerlifters, or very, very serious non-competitive bodybuilders or powerlifters, are themselves personal trainers. And as you guys know, we've all been personal trainers. I was a personal trainer in the gym for 8 years before I fully went online. And if you're not in the gym training someone, you're not making money.
Right.
That's a dollars per hour proposition. So the situation now is that our clients are having to give up coaching. Many of them had, and we had to find ways to offer them, a period of hey, we'll give you 50% off, or hey, let's go to an every other month check-in. We have to basically meet them halfway, and they remember that. They really appreciate that. Yes, we take a financial hit, but everyone's taking a financial hit.
Right.
And if you do right by your people now, they appreciate that. It tells you about who you are,
Yeah.
And to be a little more Machiavellian about it, we've always been told this in business, that it's easier to keep a customer than get a new one. So I think if you've got a lot of clients you collaborate well with, you developed a relationship, they are currently a customer, they value what you do, it is probably in your best interest to meet them where they need to be for the time period until everyone's finances recover. So I think that's what I'd be doing if I was still a personal trainer. And this is kind of what we've had to do, because while I'm the chief science officer at 3DMJ, and 3DMJ is becoming more and more, having more and more scalable income options. Like we're a mass affiliate, we're a pyramid affiliate. So we affiliate with ourselves basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have the 3DMJ Vault, and we're doing more and more things to generate passive income, or I should say at least scalable income.
Yeah.
We did take a hit in coaching, so we had to promote more Gen Pop coaching. We had to offer discounts to our current clients if they needed that, and that really made a huge difference. So if I was in the position where I was in-person personal trainer, I wasn't online, the first thing I would do is I would contact all of my clients who I was in person with and be like, hey, we could do this. I can be there with you on Zoom. We can schedule specific times, and I would start working on emails that would provide value. All the little things you wish you could do as a personal trainer, like, they need to get a really good workout, and that's going to take at least 30 to 45 minutes of our time. I know I want to talk to them about lifestyle, nutrition, wellness, mindset, time management, all these things that are the reason why if I just disappeared, they wouldn't keep working out on their own, because that's the tough thing. It's, if you're a personal trainer and your clients are great when they see you the 2 to 3 times per week, but if you weren't there, they would slowly fall off. Mm-hmm. Your goal is basically to give them good workouts, but really where your head should be at is, what can I do so that they will adopt a fitness lifestyle long term? How can I change their lifestyle? And that means that all of the rest of your time, when you're not actually physically training them, or even during rest periods and you're talking to them, emails you send them between sessions, etc., should all be geared towards helping them make that commitment to changing their life, which is what it's about. So that they become someone who doesn't need you eventually, but greatly appreciated what you did and wants to spread the good news, become a missionary for a changed lifestyle. That was one thing. I always tried to work myself out of a job as a personal trainer, and I would get in these arguments with my, the fitness manager or the business owner, like, no, you need to re-sign them. And I'm like, I'm not going to string someone along until they hate fitness and they associate a negative thing with it,
Yeah.
and with me, and create negative referrals and bad customer service. What we want is to create people who came here 12 weeks later. The most important part of their day was when they trained. They love it. It trickled down, affected everything else positively, and all they want to do is tell all their friends and family, "Hey, you've got to do this."
Yep.
So I think getting that message across is very difficult when you have 30, 45 minutes, an hour with someone, and most of it is training. Um, Finding the time to talk about nutrition, finding the time to talk about all that stuff. But now you have more than enough time, and they're a captive audience. They might not be able to work. They might not. They have to work from home, but you've got their email inbox, you've got their Skype. You can offer them, meet them halfway to whatever degree needs to be to keep them around, so that it doesn't suck up too much of your time, and at least kind of stop the bleeding, and then really start to put in place ways of giving them value. And then you may find, yeah, you take a hit now, but you could just barely cut even or dip into your savings just a little bit. And then when you come out of it, you're going to have all of these things developed that you developed for COVID that are actually really, really helpful to give more value to your clients when you go back to in-person training. And now you'll be able to do things like hybrid in-person, online only, consulting, and you'll have just this much more depth to your business.
Yeah.
And this is something like right now, we've seen that the businesses that are surviving in New Zealand that are brick and mortar are the ones that did online stuff before or could quickly adapt. The ones that didn't have a website, they're like, oh, my Facebook is good enough, I never go on it. Oh, now you can't order online. Or like all these little things. And they were just getting by on the fact they had a good location and a good chef. They're struggling. It's the ones who thought about being a business in 2020 and providing the ability to order online, do Uber Eats, all this kind of stuff, online booking tables. They're the ones who had a much easier transition and are going to be, leaking the least amount of money. So I think that's kind of the same thing you can do as a personal trainer now. The ones who are not suffering are the ones who already had some online coaching and some in-person stuff, and they can just go, hey, I can't do this, we can do that. But if you didn't have that, now's the time to get on it.
Yeah. Geez, man. So much value and just gold right there and so many good points. I love the one where you just said about meet your clients halfway, because again, it's about over delivering right now and just helping people out. And then it's going to pay off going forward when we come out of this. And even more so, I've been telling like our fitness professional students, right? Like the biggest discrepancy in the marketplace right now is accountability. People need accountability more than anything in fitness. And there is a huge demand for that. It's just like, how do we figure out how to supply that in a unique, different way? So I love everything that you said, man. So even just shifting towards like the end of this interview, I've been asking all the guests, what do you feel like is the big message from the universe for humanity, society, as to why this happened with like COVID?
Man, I don't know that there's any reason why it happened. I don't, at the very least, I think we can make meaning, even if there wasn't meaning. And that if there is any purpose in life, it is what you make of it, right? Or meaning to life, not to get too existential. So I think the way I would frame that question that I feel like I might be able to answer is what meaning can we make from this happening, and what can we take from it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, especially in the bodybuilding community and among really hardcore athletes, and this is kind of what I relate to, but I think everyone will take a little something from this. A lot of us try to get better or deal with failure by controlling our environment more, right? I'll take a bodybuilding example. I didn't get into the shape I want, didn't get the placing I want. So you know what? Next contest prep, I'm only going to eat the list of 8 foods, not 12. I'm not going to go out to eat. I'm basically going to disappear and just live in a little bodybuilding bubble. I'm going to be more hardcore, right? And people who took that path in life, business, sport, or whatever, when they are thrown off track, because those tracks get deeper, stronger, and they're gluing their train to it, when they get derailed, they are really lost, and it's very, very stressful. If you are someone who has, like with bodybuilders, for example, if they know how to go to work, have a relationship, travel, and do all these things, and still meet the criteria for, say, a contest prep or preparing for whatever, they're a much better place for this. So there's a difference between locking down your environment and building resilience so you can be successful in any environment.
Yep.
So I think if you are really, really struggling in this time, and not because, and for people who like lost their job or lost a family member, that's totally different. I don't I don't want to minimize that.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who this disruption to your life seems to be affecting you, even though those things didn't happen, this might be a call to action that the pathway forward for you to grow as a human being is to become more resilient and more able to be your best self in different environments, rather than trying to control your environment more and more and more and more. If you're the person who, we joked about it on Iron Culture, Omar Isuf was like, he's seen people come to his gym and they wouldn't sign up there because they didn't have illegal calibrated plates, even though they're a mid-tier powerlifter at best. This isn't Ray Williams coming in, if that's you, if you need everything to be just right, if you're kind of the princess and the pea in your life, and you need things to be just perfect, you're probably suffering right now. I feel for you, but this may be an opportunity to build your circle of comfort a bit, to where you can, instead of trying to find optimal as this very narrow confines, expand your definition and your ability to define what isn't within the scope of optimal. And that can apply to business, life, family, etc. And I think you'll be much better prepared for life. You'll become anti-fragile, if you will. So
yeah, it's good.
Eric, that was a great example you used, like with a bodybuilder becoming like more hardcore, and just so I appreciate that, man. Is there anything that we could support you on right now, or any of the listeners, and where can the listeners connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing I'd appreciate is I know some people have a lot more time. I'm sure parents who are now also the teacher and the parent and the daycare provider is like, time. I don't know what that is anymore. Nor do I know what sleep is. But for people who are having more time on their hands, or looking for content, or just feeling stir crazy, there's a lot of great stuff out there. A lot of people, content producers are also hanging out at home a lot more now too. So, you can follow me at Helms 3DMJ on my Instagram. I'm trying to make a lot more content, a lot more free content. We're over our 150th episode on the 3D Muscle Journey podcast, and over the 60th episode on Iron Culture, me and Omar. So check out 3dmusclejourney.com. That's the number 3, the letter D, the muscle journey. And then from there, you can find links to our blogs that are free, our YouTube, and our podcast, and then also Iron Culture. So those are the 2 spots I would recommend. From everything else from there, you can find like mass and the pyramids, etc.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll have that all linked up in the show notes. And then before we let you go, man, I just want to commend you, just saying thank you, for everything you've done for the industry. I know you've had a huge impact on Eric and I. You were our mentor for a couple of years. So thank you so much, man. And it's just good to hear from you. Good to talk to you. Glad you and like your wife are doing well. And again, just thanks for everything, man.
Two-way street, guys. I really appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words, and keep doing what you're doing.
I echo that, man. So thank you so much. And hopefully you guys, just stay safe with everything, and just prevail from this.
Absolutely. Back at you guys. Stay safe.
Right on. All right, guys. Until next time.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video and another episode on pro tips on living a dynamic lifestyle. We truly appreciate it. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of it. If you're interested in getting more value like this from these pro tips, make sure to subscribe above. We're going to be dropping these daily. Also, if you are a fitness professional and you're looking to create more income, impact, influence, and independence, we just dropped our new book, Rise of the Fit Pros, so you guys can do all of that. You can also start building your hybrid training model with in-person and online training. So make sure to click the link or the book right here to grab your guys' copy, and we'll send it over to you. Other than that, we're out. Talk to you soon.